everybody and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year's. Also, I thought it was relevant to show you my Christmas present from my mom. Anyways, I read 18 books in the month of December, which is literally insane. My reading goal originally was like 50 books and I'm like at 160 something for the entire year, which is insane, and I don't want to do that again because I just want to choose more quality books over the quantity of books, which is also what I said about 2023, but I don't know, like I literally don't know what happened. I thought it would be fun to go over the 18 books that I read, and when I thought about them, we have such a mix of books, which I'm really excited about. So let's just get started. I started off my month reading Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. I didn't really like Red Rising that much. I thought it was very confusing, and I did like some aspects of it. The first 40 pages of Red Rising was really good, but the whole thing was just confusing. It took so much brain power for me, and I don't know, like I just thought it wasn't for me. But then I decided to keep on going, and I read Golden Sun, and I really liked it. If you don't know, this is a trilogy. There's more books in the entire series, or you can just read the original trilogy, and it follows Darrow. There's a caste system divided up in colors, so he's a red, which is like the lowest of the low, and there's gold, which is like really high. So he's just trying to like infiltrate the system and make it better for reds basically. But the character growth from the beginning of the book all the way into Golden Sun was so good, and I just found myself like getting through the book really fast. Like this was a really fast and way easier read for me than Red Rising, so I really liked it. I gave this one like a 4 stars. I really did like this. So then I moved on to Morning Star. Literally look how massive these books are, and I almost gave this one 5 stars. This one was, in my opinion, the best of the series. I thought that it wrapped up really well. I was so satisfied by the ending, which rarely ever happened to me with a book. I'm never satisfied with the ending, but I was so satisfied with this ending. I thought it was so good, and it almost made me want to go on and read the next couple of books in the series, which I told myself I wasn't gonna do when I read Red Rising because I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't understand it. I was like, oh my god, I'm not smart enough for this. But Pierce Brown really like outdid himself with Morning Star. It was so good. So if you want to give yourself something new, something a little bit out of your comfort zone, this is science fiction, and I really highly recommend getting into it. But just know if it's like a little bit confusing, keep going, because I was so confused. Like the entire time I was reading Red Rising, I was like, oh my god, what is going on? But I kept going because I had already checked them out from the library, so like I might as well. So I really enjoyed the rest of the trilogy. So I started my month off well. Then I read Peter Pan, like the original Peter Pan. It actually came in this like giant storybook from my library. I have since returned it. It was like a sit down in one afternoon read. It was like a picture book almost, and I had read it before, like we all know the story, but it was really nice to kind of reacquaint myself with it and get prepared because I was so excited for Never by Jessa Hastings to come out. Like I was just so excited about it. I pre-ordered it. I love the cover. I was like, oh my god. Magnolia Park's also like the best thing that I've ever read. My favorite series that I've read this year. So I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. This is a Peter Pan retelling. It follows Daphne. She's like the granddaughter of Wendy, and she goes to Neverland when she's 17, almost 18, and there's a love triangle between Peter Pan and Jameson Hook, which is like Captain Hook's son, and it's so bad. It's literally so bad. I was shocked. I hadn't read any of the reviews because I got this right on the day it came out, and so when I read it, I was like, oh no, what's going on? Like, why don't I like this book? Why do I have such a hard time getting into it? Like, it was so hard for me to read. Also, there's footnotes at the bottom of like every single page that don't need to be there, and the little asterisks with the sentences are so small. Like, I have better than 20/20 vision, and I couldn't even like find the asterisk for the footnotes. Like, it is ridiculous. The author has had some issues with some of the comments being racially insensitive. She describes skin tone as being dirty, so she's had to fix that. And honestly, I don't know why she did half of the things that she didn't hear. I didn't like a single character. Peter Pan was literally awful. There was not a single redeeming quality about him. And Jameson Hook had the worst goddess accent ever. Like, I couldn't comprehend what I was reading, and it genuinely was not good. And the writing, like, we know that her writing is very beautiful, and there's some quotes, and also some of the fan art that I've seen of some of the scenes are really, really beautiful. But overall, as a fantasy book, it was a fail, and I can't even rate it. Obviously it would be like a 1 star, but I just can't rate it because I have waited so long for this to come out, and I had such high hopes for it. It just let me down. It really let me down, and I'm so sad about it. And hopefully when she comes out with her next one, it will be better. But I don't know, because it's just some of the things were so creepy. Like, they were waiting for her to turn 18. Like, it literally gave me the creeps over here. So enough said. I did not like this at all. It was such a disappointment. Next, I read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Devin. I did read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by the same author a little bit earlier in the year, and I didn't love it. There was a particular chapter though that I like think about all the time of that book. But I read this because Haley Pham like loved it and gave it 5 stars, and I gotta say I really like this book. This is super short. This is like 200 pages, and it was so good. So this is about AJ. His wife died, and they have a bookshop in a little island in New York, and he's just dealing with grief and being alone. And it's just a literary fiction book, but it is really heartwarming and really good, and you can read it in like 1 sitting. That's what I did. And I haven't watched the movie, but I really want to. I really did love this book. I felt a lot reading this book, but I can't give it 5 stars just because it was so short and it was such a tiny bit of life for me. Like, I don't know, it didn't really take me that long to read it. I did kind of forget some of the things that happened while I read it, so I did give this one 4.25, but this is definitely a book that I will probably reread because it was really good, and she was able to pack a punch in such a short amount of time that if I like needed something that was like emotional and good, I could read this in a small amount of time. But this is a book that I think anybody could read. Like, my mom's gonna read it next, and she'll probably love it just as much as I did. Okay, I read 10 Christmas books this month, and I hate Christmas books. I like don't really like them. I'd rather watch a Hallmark movie and get the same sort of experience but not read a book. But my friend shipped me a bunch of them, and I actually made a whole video about 9 of these books. So if you want to see my thoughts, my ratings, the synopsis of all of these books, check out that video. It will be linked below. But I read Bright Lights Big Christmas by Mary Kay Andrews, The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews, Christmas at the Cupcake Cafe by Jenny Colgan, A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy, Holiday Romance by Catherine Wolfe, and A Holidays by Christina Lauren, Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey, and 'Tis the Season for Revenge for Morgan Elizabeth. Literally so many. There were ranges in like what I liked and what I didn't, and I will not be doing that again. Maybe I'll read like 1 Christmas book. But the one that I read that I actually haven't talked about in a video is The Wake Up Call by Beth O'Leary. This is such a cute book. This is an enemies to lovers workplace romance. It is 2 people that work in a hotel that's kind of going down. They don't have money. They're about to shut down, but they both are really passionate about the hotel. So they have to work together on a project, and they like hate each other. They can't stand each other for stupid little reasons, but honestly the reason why they didn't like each other and why they kind of stay away from each other made sense at the end, and a lot of times it doesn't, and they end up falling in love, and it was so cute. This one was really good, and I really enjoyed it. I did give this one 3 stars, but it was on the higher 3 stars range for me. Sometimes I give things a 3 stars, it's like a bad 3 stars, but this was a good one, and it was really cute. I read it in 1 afternoon, and I think that this one was really good and better than some of the others that I had read, because the Christmas part was like kind of on the back burner. It focused more on the story and what was going on, and I really thought it was good, so I would recommend it. And now that it's after Christmas, I still think you can read it and enjoy it. Okay, next I read A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I genuinely just checked this one out because I love the cover. Literally, look at how gorgeous it is. It is so good. I had heard like kind of mixed things before I read it, but I was still like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and read it, and I'm so glad I did. This book is about Effie, and she is in an architecture college. It's kind of not her first choice. She really wants to be in an English college, but because she's a girl, she can't, and she has really, really good grades, and she wins some sort of competition where she gets to go out into the countryside and rebuild this house, this old manor that's like falling apart. And so she gets to redesign it, and while she's there, she meets a boy. He goes to the literature college, and they are kind of working on their own project, and they discover this author that she really, really likes, but he is doing research and he thinks that this author might not be legit, and they kind of uncover things together, and it is so interesting. This is literally dark academia vibes set in the countryside, because we're only at the school for like the first couple of chapters before she goes out into the countryside. But it's really, really good. The writing style is really folksy and very magical in a dark way, and I think that it's very, very moody. This author is very good at setting the tone, and this is a YA book. I know she has another book that's like kind of a little more like risque and shocking, I've heard, and I kind of want to read that because she's really, really good at consistency with her writing, and I think that as a standalone this was really, really good. I did end up giving this one 3 stars. However, I remember reading it at the time, and I remember being so solid on my rating of like, oh my god, this is a 3 stars. But ever since I finished it, I haven't stopped thinking about it. Like, I'm like, whoa, that was such a good book. And the more that I read reviews or hear people talking about it, I'm like, you know what, that was really good. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. So I think I would up my rating to a 4 stars, just because I haven't been able to stop thinking about that, and because I read so many books that is so rare. I honestly did have a really, really good time. It is super unique, and it is a fantasy, but also I would say that it's more of a dark academia vibes. Next, we have Heart of the Raven Prince. This is a Cinderella retelling. It's part of a series, but it's a series of standalone. So this is the second book in the series. This is also probably the only one that I will be reading. I honestly really like this. I give this one like a 4.5 stars. Definitely not a 5 star. It was good. It was literally a Cinderella retelling with fantasy elements, and that's literally what it is, but it is really good. The writing is really fast paced, and this one is pretty long. This one was about 500 pages, and I read it really, really fast, like way faster than a 300-page book, because I was so invested. And I think that if you are wanting to dabble into fantasy, but you really like romance novels, or you're not sure what to read, this is a really, really good one, because there are fantasy elements and there still is world building, but you know what to expect because it is a retelling of a story that we all know. I would highly recommend. It was so fun. Like, I had such a good time reading it. And then last but not least, we have Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. This is like the most beautiful book I've ever seen. Like, look at that. Aside from the Magnolia Parks covers, this one is so pretty. So I actually have the large print version because it was impossible to get like the regular version from my library because everybody wants to read it. And this one still took me like 2 months to get. But I was really kind of disappointed in this book. So this is a literary fiction book, and this is Laura telling her story, but she is telling her story to her 3 daughters about when she was an actress when she was younger. And so the story flipped from when she was younger to now with her kids. It was a little bit confusing for me to get into when I first started, because I was so confused about like what was going on and why we were flipping from time to time, because there isn't really a clear indicator. But once I got it, I was like, oh, okay, I see it now. The first half of this book, I was like, okay, this is good. Like, I'm gonna keep on going and I'm gonna keep on seeing like what the story has to offer me. And then I just got so bored. By the end, I was so bored. I was really, really bored. I should have listened to the audiobook, which I heard is Meryl Streep. Also, I'm deaf and I wear hearing aids, so I wouldn't be able to really like hear and understand the audiobook unless I was following along. But I gave this one 3 stars, and I feel very good about that rating. It's been a couple of days since I have finished it. I feel very good about keeping it at 3 stars because yes, the writing was good, but I was just a little bit bored and it moved a little bit slow, and I wanted more of some aspects of the story and less of others that we got a lot of. I'm gonna have to say that this one was a 3 stars, but I would still recommend it if you want a literary fiction. Also, I am from Michigan, and I have to say it was so cool to see like places that I live so close by being featured in the story. So that's why that was really cool, but I'm still gonna have to give this one a 3 stars. So that was every single book that I read in December. If you want to see in-depth reviews about the other Christmas books, you can check my bio and watch the holiday book video that I did. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!